Hi, everyone. I'm Alex,
I'm Joe.
I'm Isaiah.
and we are the Fantasy Line.
We've been playing fantasy for the last 10 years. This is going to be our first podcast. So just welcome in, guys. We're here to post some in-depth analysis throughout the season, provide you guys with some rankings, some of our favorite players. We're going to be going over some games today. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy.
Okay. Well, the two topics we're going to talk about today, I'm assuming everyone that has finished their fantasy drafts, as week 1 is this Thursday. We're going to talk about our most drafted players, and we're also going to talk about our football/fantasy football games of the week. Okay, let's get into my most drafted player this year was Drake London. I really like Drake London. I mean, of course, we all know he got a new QB, Kirk Cousins. They also hired a new coach, Raheem Morris. I like his situation. I mean, Morris was a assistant head coach and a previous passing game coordinator. Yeah, and London. I mean, I understand London. This is 4th year in the NFL, but he hasn't done too much. But London also had a great collegiate career at USC, and he was a great prospect coming out. Obviously, he was the 8th overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft. In 2021, he had led the team, USC, throughout 8 games. He had 88 receptions and 1,084 receiving yards. That's an average of 11 receptions and 135 yards per game. I just think this is a great situation for him because, I mean, the Falcons' other receivers are Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod. And they're both new to the offense. Obviously, their first year, Ray McLeod coming from the Niners and Darnell Mooney coming from the Bears. And they weren't too good last year. I mean, Darnell Mooney was a little bit, not fantasy relevant at all. I mean, Ray McLeod is just a kick returner mainly. So I just think London should dominate the targets in this offense. I mean, they have Kyle Pitts there, which will obviously eat up some targets, and Bijan. But with the quarterback, Kirk Cousins, just seeing what he had done with Justin Jefferson. I mean, obviously Justin Jefferson has an amazing career, but you need a quarterback to throw you the ball. And also just a little bit about Kirk Cousins. He has had 4,000 yards in 3 of the last 4 seasons. And the last season, the only season he didn't have 4,000 yards was last season, which he had 2,331 yards throughout 8 games. And that's because he got hurt and he didn't play the full year. But obviously he was on pace to break that 4,000-yard mark. And what are your guys' thoughts on Drake London?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring up the Kirk Cousins point. Kirk Cousins obviously tore his Achilles, just like Aaron Rodgers. So I think the narrative between Drake London and Garrett Wilson is really similar. I see them both as really similar players. I see Garrett Wilson obviously as that elite talent. He runs just like Justin Jefferson. He plays like Jefferson. But I think Drake London has that ceiling. I think he has the ability to be that Jefferson, Garrett Wilson type player. And I think Kirk Cousins will unlock Drake London. I think that this offense is going to run. They don't have Arthur Smith anymore. That dude was freaking fantasy evil, bro. We don't like Arthur Smith. He's gone. I think this whole offense is just going to be a powerhouse. They're going to run. Kirk Cousins throws the ball the most in the league. He's led the league in passing attempts the last 2 years before he got hurt. When he was with the Vikings, obviously Jefferson ate. When he was playing, Jordan Addison was doing good. I think that this offense will be unlocked, and I love Drake London as well. I agree.
I'm not as high as Drake London as you guys. I mean, I don't know. I'm worried about Kirk Cousins. I know he was good, before his injury and his torn Achilles and everything like that. But I feel like, I don't know, just new team. It's a new vibe around the team. I think one thing different about probably Atlanta than probably the Vikings in the past has been their offense. The Vikings offense was more pass heavy, and I feel like the Atlanta Falcons are probably going to favor more towards the run, especially probably within the 5-yard line. Like Bijan last year, Arthur Smith made him almost irrelevant. I feel like Bijan's a really good athlete, so I feel like they're probably going to use him way more and near like the red zone and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of Drake London, but we'll see how it goes.
I mean, what's he like, 6'4", like 220? I mean, I kind of just made that up on the spot, but
I was pulling numbers out of nowhere.
He's good. A good prospect. I mean, who else is going to take targets in that field?
I honestly think that with the leaving of Arthur Smith, this offense is going to look so much different because like Arthur Smith is run heavy. He's run the ball even when you're losing the game. Like that's what he would do. And he would put in freaking Tyler Algier and wouldn't even use his players. I think that Raheem Morris is going to come in. He's going to use his guys. He knows his talented players. He's going to feed Bijan. He's going to feed Drake London. He's going to have Kyle Pitts over the middle. I'm a believer, man. I think this is going to be a good team.
I mean, the only thing would be Kirk Cousins' injury, but I mean, he's been throwing for over 4,000 yards the last 4 years. So, I mean, where are those yards going to go? I mean, Bijan in the backfield, Pitts and London. I mean, I think London just leads the team in receiving. I mean, I said last year, he putting up like around, I mean, not too good, like 13 to 14 PPR points a game with Desmond Ritter and Marcus Mariota, and we know they are god awful.
Yeah.
And not a good fantasy quarterback for our receivers. But yeah.
Are you worried that Michael Penix comes in at some point? Or no? Do you think Michael Penix is just going to run this offense
I think Michael Penix, I don't think Michael Penix will see the field. I think that this is a Jordan Love situation when it comes to Michael Penix. I think that he's going to be there and he's not going to play for like 2-3 years. Because I think this is Kirk Cousins' teams. Kirk O'Chains, he's going to be leading that team. I think that the Achilles it's a tough injury. But it's not as bad for quarterbacks as it is for like running backs and receivers. Like if like Cam Akers, like he tore his Achilles and he was just cooked, like he's done. But I think that these quarterbacks can come back. He's gonna he's gonna be rusty. But I think that if that offense is gonna be good. They're gonna run the ball. You're gonna be smart play action, and I don't think Penix is a worry in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I agree because I mean Kirk Cousins signing a 4-year, $180 million, $50 million signing bonus and $100 million guaranteed. I mean that's
but what was it, 3-year contract or whatever, or 4-year? They can get out after I think this year or next year.
4-year,
but that's also this year. Like he's going to be that starting quarterback. Michael Penix will not see the field.
Yeah, I mean, last season we saw how many different starting quarterbacks? 40 in the 40s.
Yeah, and injuries are part of this. Injuries are part of this game, man.
So, like, I don't know. I think Michael Penix coming in during the season, I think, is a real possibility, and I think it would just be interesting, London and Drake May how the offense completely runs when Michael Penix comes in.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
Okay. So those are takes on Drake London, and then let's talk a little bit about Dalton Kincaid.
Alrighty, Dalton Kincaid. This is my most drafted player. I'm in 4 redraft leagues, and I've drafted Kincaid in every single one of these leagues. And to be honest, before my drafts, I wasn't going into it like with a plan to get Dalton Kincaid. It kind of just happened. The spot he's at in the drafts, his ADP as 51, is just a steal. I think that I want to get a top 5 tight end, as in Kelsey, Laporta, Kincaid, McBride, and
Andrews.
And I want to get the 5th one. And the 5th one ranked there is Dalton Kincaid. He is on the Bills, led by Josh Allen. Obviously, there's been 241 targets that have vacated from this offense from last year. Diggs had 160 targets last year, led the team. Gabe Davis had 81 targets, second on the team. And these targets are gone. Obviously, Diggs went to Houston. Gabe Davis went to Jacksonville. So who's Josh Allen going to throw the ball to? He's had 4,300 yards minimum. Like that's his lowest amount has been 4,300 yards over the last 4 years. So he has to have someone throw the ball to. And he's elite. This offense has ranked number 1 in the NFL over the last 4 years in points per game scored at 28.3. They average 28.3 points per game over the last 4 years. And I don't see, even if they dip a little bit, they're still going to be top 10, top 12. And obviously, I think there's going to be a little dip in this offense, but Josh Allen will feed Dalton Kincaid. He's lining up at wide receiver in training camp. He had a 17.5% target share last year as a rookie. He ended up as the tight end 11 in PPR formats, which is not even bad. If you think about it, rookie season, tight end 11. I think he got overshadowed by Sam Laporta. Obviously, Sam Laporta was the tight end 1, balled out as a rookie. And I think that Kincaid is a relative possibility for him. I think that he's going to lead this team in targets. I think that there's no way Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, and Khalil Shakir are going to steal targets from Dalton Kincaid. So he's going to eat in this offense. And also he was number 2 in the NFL amongst tight ends in slot routes ran last year as a rookie. So he was running almost all of his routes out of the slot, and obviously slot is PPR gold. Like think about like Cooper Kupp, think about like Calvin Ridley who's playing in the slot. Think about all these slot like gems. I can see Dalton Kincaid being that guy for Josh Allen this year. And like I said, his spot in the drafts is just too good. It's too good not to take him. Like you can build a team, you can get Dalton Kincaid in the 5th round as your starting tight end, lock him in every week. He's gonna be that guy. He's gonna have the red zone production, and he's gonna be the number 1 guy for Josh Allen. So Dalton Kincaid, he's my most drafted player, and he's primed for a breakout this year. So
yeah, I agree. I feel like going into the draft, I just want one of those top 5 tight ends, because after that, I mean, you have like Jake Ferguson, Evan Ingram, George Kittle, but those are guys you're a little more uncertain about, a little more boom bust upside. But I mean, with like Kincaid in that offense, he's the receiver 1. I mean, him and James Cook are pretty much going to run that offense. I mean, I get like the addition of Curtis Samuel, but I mean, Curtis Samuel really hasn't done much in his career in the Redskins. I mean, he's a good prospect. He's a good player, but Kincaid, just that connection he has with Allen after his rookie year, having a good rookie year and a possible 2nd-year breakout. And I mean, I always just love Josh Allen. I mean, he can do on the ground. He's not getting sacked. He's moving out of the pocket, finding Kincaid. And I think Allen's going to throw for over 4,000 yards again, even though he lost Stephon Diggs, his number 1 target. I think they picked up the new rookie Keon Coleman, and they have Kincaid. I mean, Samuel, Cook. I think it's going to be an explosive offense.
Yeah, I like Kincaid. I'm in my dynasty league, PPR premium tight end. I think Kincaid, I think he's gonna have a really good year. I do feel like people are kind of sleeping on Keon Coleman, like they wasted an early 2nd round pick on him. So I feel like he could play a role in this offense later in the year, but probably for the first couple of weeks, I see Kincaid kind of dominating a lot of the targets from Josh Allen. It also, I feel like it might be a very run heavy, very play action heavy. So I feel like this kind of works out for Dalton Kincaid. I really like him.
Yeah, I like what you said about run heavy. With their new offensive coordinator last year, when they made the switch in week 9, they pounded the rock. They was running that ball, and that opens up the play action pass over the middle. Dalton Kincaid, 20, 30 yards down the field, little post route. Obviously, Josh Allen got his legs running out the pocket, finding receivers open. This offense is going to be moving the ball. They go for a 4th down. They're aggressive. They're going to be in the red zone a lot. And yeah, Kincaid is just that dog. And I will say Keon Coleman, I wasn't high on Keon Coleman coming into the draft. And then like in my opinion, I feel like it's overreacting to him going to Buffalo. Because if he went to any other team, no one would really be saying anything unless it was like the Chiefs or something. But just going to Buffalo, like, yeah, he's there, but he's a rookie. He's a raw prospect. I don't see him doing all that much this year, but I guess we'll have to see. So.
I mean, also with just like the Bills defense in general, I mean, this year they just lost Tre'Davious White. I mean, that's a huge part of their defensive back.
A lot of their defense is gone, and all of their wide receivers were gone. So
they're going to have to push the tempo.
And the last year's loss of Trayman Edmonds, I mean, their middle linebacker, a huge part. So yeah, I mean, I think the Bills are going to get scored on. I mean, I still think they have a great defensive line, but I feel like with their defensive backs, people are going to put up points against them. So Josh Allen's going to put up points, and that's what he does best.
All right, my most drafted player this season has been Rashee Rice. I know he had a little bit of off-season troubles. Getting a hit and run accident actually. And I know the NFL recently just came out and talked about how they're not going to really do anything until after the legal trials were done. The trial date right now is set for December 9th. So that's these couple months away. And even then, I could probably see him pushing back that trial date probably till after the season. So I don't really see much of like a suspension coming to Rashee Rice, even though a lot of people fear that is a possibility of happening. I like him so much because ADP is down there. I feel like it's that risk factor of him going on trial. It's like right now his ADP is like the 710 ish. I've taken him earlier, and I've seen kind of like a trend of people starting to take him more earlier after his suspension news and after the NFL saying we're not going to suspend him till after the trial. So that's a little bit of good news. He also last season, another reason why I'm really into him is last season was a rookie season. And after week 12 on, after week 11 on, he was a wide receiver 9. He saw a big boost in his target share after week 12. Before week 12, his target share was around 18%. Before week 12, it was 18%. After week 12, it went up to 25%. That's a pretty big jump there. Again, he finished wide receiver 9, weeks 11 through 17, above many people finish out. He finished above Devontae Smith and DJ Moore. And those people are going before him. And last season was his rookie season. I know people fear the new receivers coming in. I know Marquise Brown, I know he suffered an injury. I know he's going to be out for the next couple of weeks, I believe. I think he's just out week 1. He possibly might be there for week 2. And then the draft of Xavier Worthy, I feel like he's a good pick. He's a good prospect, but I'm not really too worried about him in his offense, especially because I feel like he's going to just kind of be like the Tyreek Hill role where, he's just going to run deep. Just going to take the top off the defense, run deep, and create more separation in the middle so like Rashee Rice can go. And I know Kelsey's still there. I know Kelsey's a little bit older. He's 34 now, I believe. And I feel like I know they have came out and said they don't really want to use him as much, especially because he's older. But I kind of think that Rashee Rice is probably going to take over that Kelsey role about facilitating more in the middle of the field and being the middle route guy instead of Kelsey. I still believe Kelsey's still going to have a big role in this offense, but I think Rashee Rice is going to step it up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Rashee Rice. I mean, throughout the offseason, we obviously saw, if you did any best ball drafts or anything, you saw his ADP move up to around the 3rd, 4th round. When in redraft leagues, he's going around the 7th, 8th round, maybe 6th. But, yeah, I mean, with Kelsey's age declining, I mean, last year, he was only 13 yards off a 1,000-yard season. But, I mean, could that be saying that he's going to get less targets, not getting 1,000 yards every year? I mean, Kelsey, I feel like, still going to eat up a lot of targets because at the end of the day, it's Travis Kelce, and it's just a relationship with Mahomes. But I think Rashee Rice is going to be open over the middle field. I think it's going to be Rashee Rice and Kelsey over the middle, and I think Marquise Brown's going to be the deep ball, and I mean Xavier Worthy. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I like Rashee Rice. He's tied to Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL. Can't really say nothing about that. If you look at his numbers over the course of last year, weeks 12 on, these are just his fantasy scores in PPR formats. He went 24, 14, 18, 24, 15, 17, averaging 10 targets a game over that span. And this dude is just a target hog. Mahomes obviously shows Mahomes trusted him. If you even look in the playoff run, like wild card week against Miami, this dude dropped 27 points. He had 12 targets, 8 receptions for 130 yards in the touchdown. Throughout the playoffs, he was getting targeted. He had 9 targets in the Super Bowl. Didn't come down with all of them, but yeah, man, I think the Chiefs are going to be once again a top 5 team. The Chiefs have a great defense this year. I see them as a top 5 defense, led by Andy Reid. But yeah, Rashee Rice tied to Patrick Mahomes, going to get all the targets in this offense. His ADP 70, that's a steal, man. I'm taking that all day.
Yeah, I know last year it was a down year for them scoring. I feel like this year is probably in a completely different type of team. I just saw like Snead, their corner. They traded him this offseason, so we don't know about their secondary and how their corners are going to be. They might be a little weaker than they were last year, possibly giving up more points. But I know their defensive line stayed the same. But yeah, I really like Rashee Rice. I think he's gonna have a good year too.
I mean, one guy on the Chiefs, I think it could be a monster. I think Marquise Brown. I think that was a great addition. I mean, obviously he's gonna be out week 1, probably out week 2, but I feel like, I mean, he's probably not on your waiver wire, but if you're taking the later rounds, round 10 on, I feel like that could be a great just stash because I mean, with Mahomes at quarterback, a little more accurate than Lamar Jackson. I think that's a solid flex spot any given week with just that upside.
Yeah. Going back to what Isaiah was saying about how they had a down year last year, if you look at the numbers, since 2018. These are just the Chiefs points per game since Mahomes took over. 35 in 2018 points per game, and then 28, 29, 28, 29. And last year the Chiefs were all the way down at 21 points per game. That's like a 9-point swing. So even if that balances out to be like 25, like in the median, this team's going to be significantly better. Mahomes going to be throwing – I have Mahomes down for like 35, 40 touchdowns easy. Mahomes going to be slinging the rock. This team's going to be a powerhouse. Their points per game is going to skyrocket up. And last year, they won the Super Bowl with that many points per game. That's a scary thing. So we will see what happens with the Chiefs this year and Rashee Rice.
Okay, moving on. To some football games of the week, not fantasy, but football. My football game of the week is the Ravens Chiefs. I think that Thursday night game is a great way to kick off the season. I think the addition of Derrick Henry is probably one of the biggest, most exciting just fantasy impact and news of the offseason. Because obviously adding Derrick Henry to an offense like the Ravens is just like a cheat code with Lamar and quarterback. I mean, they did lose 3 starting offensive linemen, though, which I think is huge for the Ravens. They lost right guard Kevin Zelter, the right tackle Morgan Moses, and the left guard John Simpson, which is damn near the 3 of the 5 offensive linemen. So, I mean, that chemistry they're going to have to rebuild. But if Henry can get some good blocks, I mean, I think Henry's out for a 15, 20 touchdown season easily this year. What do you guys think about Derrick Henry on the Ravens?
I think that he's going to be just like Dave Montgomery was last year. He's going to be touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Dave Montgomery pretty much averaged touchdown a game last year. And obviously Derrick Henry's a more elite talent than Dave Montgomery. He's bigger. He's Derrick Henry, man. Like, you guys know who he is. He shows up to play every day, every year for the last, 6-7 years. This man is just out in the field, putting up numbers, getting the most rushing attempts in the league. That is a little worrisome. He's got the most rushing attempts. He's got a lot of wear and tear on his body, but I still believe in Derrick Henry. I think that although the explosive plays may not be there at this point in his career, I think that the goal line, inside the 5-yard line work is going to exceed that, and it's going to balance it out. And he's going to – I don't see there's any way this guy doesn't score more than 10, 12 touchdowns. Like, I think that's an easy realm of possibilities.
I mean, especially with what we saw Henry doing on the Titans. I mean, they give him a pitch and he throws it for a touchdown. Like, I just don't know how you're going to stop that.
I feel like the only thing about Derrick Henry for PPR is just I know last couple seasons he's been pretty good at catching the ball. The Ravens offense really doesn't throw it down to the running backs. But again, like you guys have been highlighting, like Derrick Henry's touchdowns, I think makes up for that. But I feel like his ceiling, he has a pretty good ceiling, but just
it's a little bad his PPR work. Just in format.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In fantasy and like in general, I don't like his ADP. I'd rather take Pacheco. I'd rather take ETN. I'm taking those guys all day over Derrick Henry just because of receptions. But if you're playing in standard, take Derrick Henry. If you're playing in half PPR, take Derrick Henry. This dude's gonna be a monster. However, just in PPR, I'm not fully bought in, but I believe that he will score a crap ton of touchdowns. So
on that topic about Pacheco, I mean, the Chiefs just signed Samaje Perine to just a 1-year, $1.2 million deal. Nothing crazy, but what do you think? What impact do you think that has on Pacheco?
Irrelevant. I think it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think that Andy Reid has already came out and said Pacheco's our guy. He's already came out and said he's ready for a 3-down role. This man Pacheco, they leaned on him in the playoffs heavy. They gave him 90. He was in the Super Bowl 95% of the time. This man was on the field in the Super Bowl, literally the biggest game of the entire season. So I don't see why they're not going to use this man. He's good. He's 25, young, healthy, ready to roll for his 3rd season in the NFL. This dude literally beats up the ground when he runs. If you see this guy run, this man is good, and he's going to be getting the receptions from Patrick Mahomes, and I think he's going to be the leader of this team this year. He's gonna be real good.
Yeah, Samaje Perine, it's just insurance. Like, you always want a good backup too. Like, you don't want Isaiah Pacheco getting 90% of the carries. Especially if you're a fantasy owner, like, you don't want that. Gives him just a higher risk of him getting hurt. It's like Samaje Perine might eat into a little bit of his shares, but other than that, like, not worried about his setting whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. That's where I disagree a little. I don't know. I feel like Samaje Perine might eat up a little bit of that passing game work. I mean, I feel like Pacheco's still going to dominate on the ground, but as in the draft and everything, I don't know if I'm taking Pacheco in the second round. I would say mid to late third round is where I would take him. Just because with that Samaje Perine signing, I feel like that bumps him down a little bit. Just one more running back I'll talk about. What are your guys' takes on Kyren Williams this year, known as the kick returner?
Punt return.
I'll let Isaiah go first just because he did draft Kyren Williams in round 2. So
I don't know. I'm not. Last season he was a punt returner for the first 3 games, but they had nobody backing him up. And I felt like when he first came into the league, he was supposed to be more known as like a special teamer. Like that's what they wanted him to do, kickoffs and stuff like that. And his role kind of just grew until, he was a pretty good running back last season.
League winner if you drafted him.
Yeah.
Good waiver wire pickup. I don't know. I feel like I'm not too worried about it because I think Sean McVay knows like Kyren Williams is a good back. It's not just like he's just going to go. I know they drafted Blake Corum, but Blake Corum's also solid, but I don't see why they just don't use Kyren Williams still. Like he's just trying to get him more touches. That's why I said let him be a punt returner. Because they're gonna, I think, so many mouths to feed on the offensive side, especially with Puka and Cup. Like that's a lot of offensive weapons right there that Stafford gets to throw to. And I know like Kyren has the coach's trust. Like that was like Sean McVay. I think Cam Akers partially didn't work out because of his trust for each other. Sean McVay didn't really trust him as a back, and so I feel like Kyren earned that trust, especially last year with him having those big explosive games. So I'm not too worried about it too much.
Yeah. I would say Sean McVay running backs over the years have just been rock solid. You think back like Todd Gurley, you think back to even Darrell Henderson in some games. Like Rams running backs produce, and if Sean McVay trusts you, he's going to give you the rock. Cooper Kupp is a prime example of that. Puka Nacua of last year is a prime example of that. These 3 guys, Kupp, Puka, Kyren, are going to be just fed the rock, in my opinion. I will say that news is it's just like he could get hurt on special teams. That's all. I mean, you got to be a little bit worried about that just because special teams is, head on head. You're going straight at each other.
Yeah, but how many punt returns are actually ran back? Like that's the same. Like I feel like the chances it might be one extra hit a game, maybe 2. I don't think too many punt returns are returned in a game.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And I'm not trying to say like Kyren's gonna get hurt on a punt return. Yeah. I'm just saying like just in general, I'd rather him not be the punt returner if I'm drafting him as my RB1.
No, yeah, that makes.
What are your guys' thoughts on Blake Corum? Is he a good stash in the later rounds?
If you have Kyren.
Yeah. Like I said, I have him. I picked him up. I got him in the later rounds. Just, insurance. Like that's your second round pick. Some people's first round pick, depending on when they drafted and stuff like that. So I think, especially if you get him so much later, why not? Just in case, your second round pick goes down. Mm-hmm. So I think I like that stash.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sean McVay also had a little confidence in Blake Corum. I mean, what do you guys think that snap share in the backfield is going to look like?
I think that it's going to be like 80-20, maybe at the beginning of the season. As the season goes on, I think Blake Corum will eat a little bit. I think back to Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I think this is kind of comparison in a way. Like Kenneth Walker's a dog. He's the guy there. Charbonnet ate in a little bit because Kenneth Walker got hurt. But even when Kenneth Walker came back, Kenneth Walker was still the guy there. I think that this is a similar situation, although Kyren is more talented, and I think he's going to produce for fantasy, maybe not to 20 points per game like he was last year, and he was the only guy who competed with Christian McCaffrey last year. I don't think that's going to be the case this year, but I think he's going to be a rock-solid mid-RB1.
Saying Corum, like, if he gets 70% of, he's 70% in the backfield, like, I'm fine with that. Like I'm saying, like, same thing with like Pacheco, with them signing like Samaje Perine. If he's in the on the field during key crucial times, I think that's all that matters. But other than that, if he's starting to split shares, I think that's an issue. But I think he's going to probably still get, if he gets 65% of the snaps, 60 to 75% of the snaps, like I think that's still good, especially because he got hurt last season. So I don't understand really the narrative of him being like injury prone, even though he sprained his ankle and then he balled out the rest of the season. So I feel like I think he's still probably going to get like 70% of the shares.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some questions. In a PPR format, are you taking Kyren Williams or Isaiah Pacheco?
Kyren Williams.
I'm taking Kyren Williams in a PPR format.
Kyren Williams or Travis Etienne?
Kyren Williams.
Kyren Williams.
So you guys are.
I have Kyren Williams. I have Kyren Williams. In my opinion, I think that with this kick return, punt return news, him and Saquon are really close in my opinion.
I feel like Kyren is probably around my RB 8 on the year. I mean, I think I would take Travis Etienne over him. I would take Saquon over him. I think Gibbs over him. And then, I mean, obviously, Breece Hall, Christian McCaffrey, and Bijan Robinson.
And JT.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I dropped Kyren a little bit just with that news, but no, I mean, not too much.
I feel like
right now, I mean, he's running back 8. Like, I feel like he's going right now as running back 6, running back 5-ish. It just depends on, it depends on who goes. I feel like, I mean, running back 8, I know it's not really what you want as especially a top, 5 pick running back, but top 8 isn't that bad whatsoever.
Yeah, and I will say that his upside is pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
20 points per game last year, second running back like in the league to average 20 points per game with Christian McCaffrey. He was up there with CMC, and if you can get that production this year, you're looking real good this year. So,
all right, let's transition into Joe's fantasy football game of the week.
All righty. So for my game of the week for fantasy football this year, I have for week 1, I have Lions Rams. Going back to the Rams. So Lions Rams. It's the first Sunday Night Football game of the year. So tensions are going to be high. Stafford versus Jared Goff. Same narrative it was in the wild card round last year when the Lions beat the Rams 24-23. And obviously in playoff games, they tighten up. And I think in week 1, they're going to be letting that thing – they're going to be slinging the rock left and right. They're going to be – points are going to be scored all across the board on all levels, running game, passing game, receiving game, everywhere. Points are going to be scored. The over-under for this game is 51.5. And that is just ginormous. There's going to be points scored everywhere. Obviously, Puka and Jahmyr Gibbs are both questionable, but they're both expected to play in week 1, which just opens up even more in this game. And this is there are 9 relevant fantasy players in this game. 6 of them are in the top 4 rounds of redraft right now, which includes Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyren Williams, Sam Laporta, and Cooper Kupp. Those are all being drafted within the top 4 rounds. And then not to even add on Dave Montgomery, Matthew Stafford, and Jared Goff as viable options as well in this game. It's going to be played inside of a dome as well. Jared Goff loves his domes. And yeah, I think this game is going to be just fireworks left and right, touchdowns all over the place, and fantasy points will be scored. If you have someone playing in this game, you should be excited because this is going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think this is a great fantasy game. I mean, the over-under is at like 52 points. If I'm betting, I'd probably bet the over just because every player is reliable in this game. You're starting everyone. You're starting David Montgomery. You're starting Gibbs. I mean, Puka, Kupp, and especially just the narrative. I mean, Goff against his former team, Stafford against his former team. I mean, what did Goff lose to? Where did they lose last year? They played like it was what championship game?
It was
the
Lions lost in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, to make the NFC Championship game last year. I mean, you saw that. I don't know the stats on that, but I know that was a high-scoring game. Came down to the last possession. Yeah, I think it's a great game. Just a question about the game. Do you guys like the Puka Nacua value in the second round in a PPR format, or do you guys pivot to 4th round Cooper Kupp in a PPR format?
Isaiah, I'll let you take this one first.
I know Puka's been falling. In a lot of drafts, I've seen Puka has been falling. I think at the price as to where he's falling now, because he's gone close to the third, like like the 2.8, the 2.9. Like he's going later in the second. I think at that price, I still like Puka just because he's younger. I don't like Cup. Everybody's hyping up Cup right now. I like Cup. I'm a big Cup fan. The only thing about Cup is that he's injury prone, especially the last couple seasons. He's been getting injured very often. I know you don't want to bank on some player getting injured, but like that is, in his history of him getting injured, just like little like injuries throughout the season. I know, Puka's dealing with like the burst of sack right now, but I think in the long run, I think I would rather have Puka more at his price than Cup.
Yeah. The more I think about it, I'm a Cup guy, man. If you play fantasy football with me, Cooper Kupp is my guy. I'm kind of bummed out I don't have him this year. His fourth round ADP has been rising. I see him going in. Even I've seen drafts where he goes in like the end of round 3, the beginning of round 3. At that 2-3 turn, I've seen Kupp go there. People are just rising on this man, which leans me to want to go more with Puka because he's falling while Kupp is rising. And I think that when Puka was on the field last year and Kupp, Puka was still outproducing him. Puka was still that guy. I will say that Matthew Stafford targets his guys. Like when he has his guy, he locks it on him. So we don't know who it's going to be, honestly. It could be either one of these guys. It could be both of these guys. But I think one of them will dominate more than the other. And I will give it like a 58% chance that it's Puka and a 42% chance that it's Kupp. And Matthew Stafford Sean McVay has said that Kupp is that guy still. But that injury history is a little scary. So if I'm drafting right now, I'm going to take Puka at his ADP over Kupp, but I'm still smashing Kupp in the 3rd, 4th round at the end of the 3rd round if I get him there. So
yeah, I agree. If you asked me at the start of the season, Puka in the 1st, it's probably the right price, but I would much rather have Kupp. To say this is a 4th, end of 3rd, end of 4th round, somewhere between there, I would have told you Kupp for sure. Just with what he's done. He's 31 now, coming off that injury. It's a pretty bad injury. But now with just Puka falling, in my own home redraft league, I got Puka in the mid-second. I think that's a great pick in the mid-second. I'm taking Puka over Marvin Harrison. I'm taking Puka over Drake London. I would say Puka. I would take Puka in the 2nd over Kupp in the 3rd, 4th.
Do we see can both of them end up in the top 12?
Yes, I think they can easily.
Yeah,
I think. Sorry. If we look back to the Eagles offense 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, 2 top 12 receivers. Devontae Smith, AJ Brown finished in the top 12. And I think that this is very similar. Puka, obviously they're different players. Like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are down the field threats, but Puka and Kupp they're going to eat up the middle of the field. They're going to get PPR receptions. They're going to get runs after the catch. And I think I'm so high on this Rams offense, just all across the board. Their defense is ranked 26th, their defense is ranked 28th going into the year. So they're going to begin scored on left and right. They're going to have to be throwing the ball, staying in games. And obviously Matthew Stafford, I think Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback, man. He's good. He dealt with a little bit of injuries last year, but he can easily support 2 top 12 receivers, in my opinion.
Okay, another drafting. Would you guys rather draft Jahmyr Gibbs in the end of the 1st, start of the 2nd, or would you go for the touchdown monster last year, David Montgomery, in the 7th, mid-8th round, 7th, 8th round?
Gibbs. I'm a Gibbs guy. I think Gibbs is the better running back in that backfield. I know he's dealt with hamstring this season. I know he had another injury last season too. That was like a soft tissue injury. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is just by far way more explosive and versatile. I think Montgomery can still do everything, but I think I like Gibbs way more, especially their offensive line is the best offensive line. I think Montgomery has good value, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to take over that backfield Especially probably lead that backfield in probably snaps at the RB position.
Honestly, I had Monty last year. He was great for me, man. He was a solid RB2 at his price. He gets the goal line work. At the end of the year, Gibbs started transitioning over to that goal line work. But, I mean, if you have Monty and Gibbs goes down, you got yourself a top 5 running back. He's going to get in everything in the offense. So with Monty going in the 7th round and Gibbs going at the end of the 1st, I personally would rather take a wide receiver like AJ Brown or one of those dogs at the end of the 1st round, and then grab maybe another wide receiver, double up, maybe a guy like Puka or something, and then go like hero RB almost in a way, and maybe grab like a Pacheco or a Derrick Henry, and then double down at running back in the 7th with Dave Montgomery. I like that build, and I just think that Montgomery's going to be solid, man. He'll get you a touchdown. He'll get you 65, 70 yards, maybe a couple catches. I like Monty. I'd rather take Monty over Gibbs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm smashing Montgomery wherever I can get him in the 7th, 8th round. That's just – I feel like taking Gibbs at the end of the 1st, start of the 2nd, I feel like that's just a risk. I mean, I get Gibbs is like an excellent talent, but just knowing that Montgomery's there, and I still think they split the workload 50-50. I think Gibbs is going to catch a lot of passes. So in a PPR format, that's good for you. But I feel like Montgomery, just with Dan Campbell, just wants to pound the ball and go for every 4th and 1. I mean, Montgomery's going to be in there. Any 4th and 3 or less, they're going to just hand off to Montgomery right up the middle. And especially just with where he's falling. I mean, Montgomery's going running back 20, 21 off the board. I mean, the running backs going before him, I mean, James Conner, Aaron Jones, Stevenson, I think Montgomery's going to finish above all of them just with the amount of touchdowns he has. And, I mean, after Montgomery, I mean, it's Swift, Javonte, Najee. I feel like Montgomery's the last guy in that tier that I want. Just I feel like he's every week reliable running back just with he's going to get 15 carries, a touchdown, and maybe 1 reception. I mean, you're not counting the receptions for Montgomery. But I think that's just a smash pick in the 7th, 8th round if you get him there. And if I'm pick 8, 9, or 10, I'm probably taking a receiver. Or, I mean, I like Jonathan Taylor more than Gibbs. I mean, I like Saquon more than Gibbs. So I'm probably taking one of those running backs over Gibbs just because they're for sure in the offense. No one's backing up Jonathan Taylor in the offense. I mean, Saquon going to Eagles, that's just phenomenal for him, getting off the weak Giants offense who aren't scoring any points. He's going to an excellent offense where Jalen Hurts may vulture some touchdowns, but I mean, just the amount of red zone opportunity Saquon's getting, I'm taking Saquon and Jonathan Taylor over Gibbs all day.
I will add one more thing. Dan Campbell has his dogs. He is pounding that rock, and he's not going to go away from Dave Montgomery. He wants to enforce his will, and he wants to just destroy this defense. And Gibbs is that outside threat speed guy. Montgomery is the dude who's going to beat you up. So I think I like Dave Montgomery a lot as well. But yeah.
And what is your guys' thoughts on the 1st round, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase? Who are you guys taking there?
Amon-Ra. I think right now, Chase's situation, I feel like Chase should definitely go after Amon-Ra. I can also see him. I don't know. I could see him going behind Justin Jefferson. At this point, I don't think Chase is playing week 1, especially if he hasn't practiced. Who says that continues? I don't know if that continues and he plays week 2 or whatever. But I feel like St. Brown goes next behind probably that line of Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. I think Amon-Ra is close behind them.
Yeah, I'm going Amon-Ra as well. His ADP right now is at 7, which I think is a steal, dude. Amon-Ra, wide receiver 3 last year. This dude gets targets all the time. I'm pretty sure that in 14 of 16 games he played, he either had 100 yards or he had a touchdown. You're getting elite production every single week. His consistency factor is through the charts. He's going to get you 15, 20 points per game easy. No doubt. You can count on him as a wide receiver 1 on your team to anchor your team. especially if you're in PPR. If you're in standard or half PPR, okay, yeah, I can consider going Chase over Amon-Ra. But PPR is where it just Amon-Ra dominates, and Jamar Chase is not practicing Monday. Not a good sign. We'll see if he gets back into practice. We'll see if he gets going for week 1. But yeah, I agree. I'd take Amon-Ra over Jamar Chase all day.
All right, so just a couple questions then. Would you guys draft your pick 5? Are you drafting Amon-Ra or Justin Jefferson?
Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra or Bijan Robinson?
Amon-Ra.
I think it's close. It depends on how people want to build their team. I like receivers more, so I'd probably say Amon-Ra.
I'd say Amon-Ra.
And the last one, Amon-Ra or Breece Hall?
I would flip a coin.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. It just depends on how you want to – if you like, running backs in the later rounds, or if you like wide receivers, round 2, 3. Depends, I think, on how you want to build your team. But I think, yeah, I'd say probably flip a coin.
I think that there's obviously the top 3, CMC, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb. And then in my opinion, there's 2 guys, Amon-Ra and Breece Hall. I like both guys at 4 or 5, and I can flip them every time. Every time.
I mean, I had pick 5, and I thought Breece Hall was a steal over Amon-Ra. I get Amon-Ra's going to produce, but just Breece Hall on the offense. I could talk about him for a while, but just with Aaron Rodgers back, he had 1 goal line carry last year. Like, that's just nuts. Averaging 1 goal line carry, that's like 62 running back ranked in goal line carries. That's just insane. And that production's obviously going to go up around 10 to 15 easily. I feel like just with Aaron Rodgers getting them in the red zone. But last comment on the Lions-Rams game. What do you guys think of Sam Laporta being drafted in the end of second round? Are you guys drafting him or no?
No.
I've had 2 drafts recently where one was on Yahoo and the other one was on ESPN, and he's just fallen. Like, I got him in one of my ESPN leagues in the 5th round. I don't know if people just were not paying attention, but like, if he's falling near the end of the 3rd, I feel like even like early 4th, I feel like that's where Sam Laporta should go. Because I picked him up easily in the 4th, 5th, round if he was there.
Yeah, I'm not drafting him in the 2nd round. His ADP right now is like 23, I want to say. 23, 24. I'm not taking him there. I firmly believe, like I said before, Dalton Kincaid, that's my biggest drafted player. I firmly believe that Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta are going to put up similar numbers.
I think Trey McBride's there too.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews, those 3 guys all go 2 rounds later than Sam Laporta. And Sam Laporta is even going damn near around ahead of Travis Kelce in some leagues. And I don't draft Sam Laporta, and I'm not drafting Travis Kelce as well, because I'd rather take the 3 tight ends who I think are going to put up damn near the same production. So,
yeah, I agree. I just don't know if we can really count on Sam Laporta putting up 15 touchdowns again. That's just one of the greatest touchdown seasons by a tight end ever. Just that amount of it's just a bizarre amount of touchdowns. I just don't know if you can count on that. I can see him putting up, 5 to 8 touchdowns, but just 15. That's what made him.
Hold up. I just want to know where you're pulling 15 from, because he had 10 last year.
All right. Well, 10 touchdowns last year. My bad about that. But
I was like, okay, I don't know where we're getting this number from, but
I thought it was 15, honestly, but I just think that's greatly reduced. I honestly just like end of 3rd round, start of 4th. I feel like that's good value. I'd take him there. But I still like Kincaid in round 5 or 6, McBride, Mark Andrews. You could mix those guys in any order you want. I feel like they're all going to finish around the same. Okay, moving on to Isaiah's fantasy game of the week.
So I have the Bills and Cardinals. It's kind of a little different game for fantasy-wise. I know Bills lost some pieces this last offseason. But right now, the over-under is 48 points. Pretty high. It's plus 6 Cardinals. So, clearly they expect basically the Bills to kind of run them over. Win by almost a touchdown, a decent amount. In this game, there are some key fantasy pieces. Kyler Murray's back. He has some new weapons coming into the offseason. They had Marvin Harrison Jr. I feel like we're going to see how he goes his first week in the NFL, first actual game in the NFL. I know people drafted him pretty high in fantasy football, high expectations. So let's see, he could provide. Everybody talks about he's the next guy. Kyler Murray's there, of course, and then we have Trey McBride, who's another. He ended last season. He really turned it up, and he really showed that he can be the number one tight end. And then they have James Conner still there, old reliable. For the Bills, they have Josh Allen, of course, and they have Kincaid. Again, talk about a lot of hype around Kincaid. Kincaid, I think he's going to have a good game this week. And then we have James Cook. I feel like James Cook in this offense last season, I think he had less than 5 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. I think no way this season that he gets that low of amount. I feel like he's going to get way more rushing touchdowns this season. And he's going to play a big role in the offense like he did near the end of last season after they fired their offensive coordinator. And then the misfits of wide receivers for the Bills, I don't know. I guess they're just seeing where they line up, what are the snap counts probably for all of them, and see who Josh Allen likes to target as his wide receivers besides Dalton Kincaid. But I feel like this game has a lot of fantasy value in it, and it's a high-scoring game. So expect some points in this game.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the Bills and Cardinals, I mean, obviously if you drafted Josh Allen, you took him third round and the second, third round. I mean, he's obviously a must start. He's going to put up points on the ground, passing, whatever. Kincaid, yeah, a must start. And one guy on the other side that I have just been in love with all offseason, I love Kyler Murray. I think he is a great pick, especially going in the 9th, 10th, 11th round. I got him in my home league. I think that's just bizarre his accolades. I mean, I know it doesn't really matter, but 43-0 in high school, number 1 pick in the draft, just coming off an injury year. I mean, he's going to get you points on the ground throwing. I mean, especially adding a big offensive weapon after the loss of D-Hop. I mean, last year, we saw Trey McBride take over the targets, but also giving him another piece in Marvin Harrison Jr., number 1 receiver prospect. I feel like Kyler's a must start, even though the Bills have a good defense. I feel like they're going to be putting up points.
Yeah, this game's going to be fun, man. This is going to be – I believe the Cardinals are going to be a lot better than most people think they're going to be. Just this whole offense is going to be – I have them down as like a top 10 offense in the league, man. They're going to be scoring lots of points. They're going to be pushing the pace. Marvin Harrison, I'm a believer. Best prospect maybe ever. Like, insane. Drafted 4th overall in the NFL draft. They believe in him, obviously. James Conner, he's solid, man. He's gonna wear and tear down that defense. Kyler Murray's gonna be running the ball. I love Kyler Murray as well. I think I'm taking him instead of taking like Anthony Richardson all day or taking any of those guys. I'd rather take Kyler Murray over Anthony Richardson 100%. Kyler Murray's that guy. He's gonna get 700 rushing yards. He's gonna get rushing touchdowns as well. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun game to watch. I honestly think the Cardinals are going to win this game. I have the Cardinals winning this game, shocking, and starting their 2024 campaign on a hot start and showing that they're here to play.
Yeah, well, that's a bold take. Cardinals win the game. I still think Josh Allen gets it done. But just some questions for you guys. Do you guys think, would you have drafted Marvin Harrison or Drake London?
I like Marv.
I agree. I'm going Marvin Harrison over Drake London.
Marvin Harrison or Devontae Adams?
I'm going Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison or Puka Nacua?
Puka.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I love Marvin. Pretty standard right there. Yeah.
I think he's going to be good just with, being compared to a Hall of Famer his whole life. Seeing what he did in college.
His dad's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
this man's really got it in his genes.
Yeah, I think he's a great second-round pick. I'm not going to take Marv over Puka, though, just because it's a rookie. But I would take Marv over Drake London, just the upside Marv has. They both have great upside, but just the talent that Marv is, I think he's gonna do good.
100%. That'll be a great game to watch. I will add one more thing. Just a quick question for you guys. When you're drafting in the third round, are you guys taking Devon Achane or Isaiah Pacheco?
Me personally, I'd go Achane. Just that upside, I think, is insane. I think that's a very similar situation to the Lions, just with the Montgomery Gibbs. But I mean, I like Pacheco. I think Pacheco's a safe option for sure, just because he's going to get the work. I mean, Achane, they have Mostert who just put up 20 touchdown season. But I would take Achane there. I just think the upside to win your league is a lot. Just depending on how much snaps he gets, if he doesn't get hurt. That's who I would take.
I think Chan. I like taking that gamble on him because he could just be absolutely insane. And especially the offense is, as we saw, they can put up 70 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I know the risk is high for a chain, but I really like him.
Yeah, I think for people drafting out there, it really depends on your build. If you're starting, if you have Marvin Harrison on your team, that's somewhat of a risky pick. It's a rookie, man. I'm taking Pacheco. But if you're confident in your first two picks, I'm taking Achane all day. This dude averaged 8 yards a carry last year. That is just literally insane. He could break fantasy football like we've never seen before. And I agree.
One thing about this Cardinals game, I feel like it could possibly have some good waiver wire pickups, especially for the Cardinals, because we don't really know who the wide receiver 2 is. They have Greg Dortch there, and I know some leagues Michael Wilson is picked up. People do have him picked up. I know some leagues he's a free agent. But I feel like both those people, if you are looking for a good backup running back or a backup wide receiver, after this week, I feel like those two could be a pretty good option if this is a more pass-heavy offense.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they could be a great stash. If something happens to Marvin Harrison, they're gonna have to throw a Trey McBride and someone else. If I'm banking on someone and stashing someone, I'm probably stashing Michael Wilson. I think Greg Dortch. I just think he's a little undersized. I feel like Michael Wilson. He didn't obviously break out last year, but he had a better season. This game's gonna say a lot.
Yeah, I agree with the Michael Wilson take. He's a great sleeper pick, round 17. If you already have your full team, Michael Wilson's a good pick. I'm cool with that. He's right now going at ADP 211. He's going to be on waivers in most leagues. If you're in a deeper league, snagging him is a good idea just to see what happens. If you're in a shallow league, I would advise to just wait and use your waiver wire on him. He did in week 17 and 18. He put up 15 points in both games. Those are obviously both Kyler Murray games. And I think he could be productive. I think he could be productive for this offense.
Okay. Well, if you made it this far, thank you for listening to the podcast. And it's our first podcast, and I hope to see you guys on Friday.
Yeah, we'll be posting a video on Friday.
Yeah, have a good one.